Captain Jessica Chin stood before the viewport of the Meridian Explorer, watching the endless expanse of unfamiliar stars stretch into infinity. The navigation systems had failed 3 days ago during what should have been a routine hyperspace jump, leaving her crew of 12 stranded in an uncharted sector of the galaxy. The ship's quantum drives hummed with uncertainty, their usual confident purr replaced by an irregular stutter that made everyone aboard nervous. "Captain," called out Navigator Tom Bradley from his station, his voice tight with barely contained frustration. "I've run the stellar cartography analysis 17 times. These constellations don't match anything in our databases. We're not just off course. We're completely outside known space." Jessica ran her fingers through her short black hair, a habit she developed during her 15 years of command. At 42, she had navigated her crew through asteroid fields, hostile alien encounters, and cosmic storms. But this was different. This was the kind of loss that made seasoned spacers question everything they thought they knew about the universe. "How's our supply situation, Marcus?" she asked, turning to her quartermaster. Marcus Webb, a barrel-chested man with graying temples, consulted his tablet. "Food for 18 days. Water for 23 if we maintain current rationing. Fuel cells are at 67%, but without knowing where we're going..." He shrugged, the gesture carrying the weight of their predicament. Dr. Sarah Kim, the ship's chief science officer, looked up from her console. Her usually pristine lab coat was wrinkled from 3 sleepless nights spent trying to make sense of their situation. "Captain, I've been analyzing the local star formations. The gravitational patterns suggest we're in an older region of the galaxy, possibly near the galactic rim. The metallic composition of nearby stars indicates heavy element abundance, perfect conditions for planetary formation. Are you suggesting we look for habitable worlds?" Jessica asked. "It might be our only option. If we can find a planet with the right atmospheric composition and mineral resources, we could potentially repair our navigation systems and establish contact with Earth Command." Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, her first officer and closest friend since their academy days, stepped closer to the viewport. His weathered face bore the scars of a dozen missions, including the plasma burn along his left cheek from a Proxima incident. "It's a risk, Jess. Unknown worlds mean unknown dangers. Everything's a risk now, Jake." Jessica's voice carried the weight of command, but he could hear the uncertainty underneath. "Tom, initiate a wide-spectrum planetary scan. Look for anything that might support human life." The next 6 hours passed in tense silence as the ship's sensors swept the surrounding star systems. The crew went about their duties with the mechanical precision of people trying not to think about their mortality. In the mess hall, conversations were subdued. In engineering, Chief Engineer Elena Rodriguez worked tirelessly to squeeze every ounce of efficiency from their failing systems. It was during the gamma shift that Tom's excited voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain to the bridge. I found something." Jessica arrived to find her navigator practically vibrating with excitement. On the main screen, a blue-green marble hung in space, wreathed in white clouds and crowned with polar ice caps. "Range?" Jessica asked. 14 million kilometers. It's the 3rd planet in a 7-world system orbiting a G-class star. Spectral analysis shows oxygen, nitrogen, water vapor. All the basics for human survival. Dr. Kim's fingers flew over her console. "Captain, the readings are remarkable. Gravity is 0.97 Earth standard. Atmospheric pressure within acceptable parameters. Surface temperatures ranging from -40 to +35 Celsius, depending on latitude and season. Any signs of civilization?" Jake asked. "That's where it gets interesting," Sarah replied. "I'm detecting metallic signatures that could indicate structures, but they're not consistent with advanced technology. More like primitive metallurgy, iron, bronze, some evidence of basic steel production." Jessica studied the planet's image, noting the large continental masses and vast oceans. Could be a pre-industrial civilization that might actually work in our favor, less chance of advanced defensive capabilities. Or it could mean they're hostile to outsiders, Jake warned. Remember the Valdris system. How could she forget? An entire colony lost because they'd underestimated a seemingly primitive alien culture that turned out to have highly effective biological weapons. Tom, take us into a high orbit. I want continuous scans for 48 hours before we make any decisions about landing. The Meridian Explorer slipped into orbit around the unnamed planet, like a metal whale diving through cosmic depths. As the hours passed, the sensor data painted an increasingly intriguing picture. Vast forests covered much of the northern continent, while the southern landmass showed evidence of agriculture, geometric patterns that could only be cultivated fields. Captain, Dr. Kim called out during the second day of observation. You need to see this. The main screen shifted to show a magnified view of the planet's surface. Structures dotted the landscape, not the gleaming towers of an advanced civilization, but something more primitive yet oddly impressive. Stone buildings rose from cleared areas in the forest, connected by what appeared to be well-maintained roads. Are those cities? Jessica asked. Villages, more likely, but look at this. Sarah adjusted the display to show thermal imaging. Consistent heat signatures indicating active fires, large gatherings of life forms. This isn't a dead world, Captain. There's definitely intelligent life down there. Marcus frowned at his readings. Population estimates? Hard to say without more detailed scans, but I'm reading thousands of individual heat signatures across multiple settlements. Maybe tens of thousands. Jake crosses arms. The question is, are they friendly? Only one way to find out, Jessica said. But we need to be smart about this. Sarah, what do your biological scans tell us about the inhabitants? The life signs are unusual, larger than humans, based on heat dispersion patterns, significantly larger. And there's something else, elevated electromagnetic activity in their brain regions that suggests either enhanced intelligence or some form of natural bioelectrical capabilities. Elena's voice crackled over the intercom from engineering. Captain, I hate to interrupt, but we've got a problem. The quantum drives are showing signs of cascade failure. If we're going to land anywhere, it needs to be soon. I can't guarantee we'll be able to achieve orbit again without major repairs. Jessica felt the familiar weight of command settle on her shoulders. Every decision could mean the difference between life and death for her crew. How long do we have? Maybe 12 hours before I have to shut down the drives completely. After that, we're committed to wherever we are. The bridge fell silent, except for the steady hum of life support systems. Jessica looked around at her crew, these people who had followed her across half the galaxy, who trusted her judgment even when she wasn't sure she trusted herself. All right, people, we're going down. Tom, find us a landing site, somewhere close to one of those settlements, but not too close. Sarah, I want every sensor trained on the surface as we descend. Any sign of aggressive behavior, any indication they view us as a threat, and we abort. Elena, can you give me enough power for one emergency ascent if needed? Aye, Captain. One emergency burn, but that's it. Jake, assemble a landing party. 6 people including us. Light weapons only. We're not invading. We're asking for help. The Meridian Explorer descended through the planet's atmosphere like a falling star, its hull heating to a dull red glow as it pushed through layers of increasingly thick air. Jessica gripped her command chair's armrests, watching the altimeter spin downward, while external cameras showed the alien landscape rushing up to meet them. Approaching the landing zone, Tom announced, "It's a clearing about 2 kilometers from the nearest settlement. Looks like natural grassland, no signs of cultivation or habitation." Through the viewports, Jessica could see a world that was both alien and strangely familiar. The grass was a deeper green than Earth's, almost emerald in color, and the trees that bordered their landing site towered higher than any she'd ever seen. Red-barked giants that must have been growing for centuries, their canopies so thick they blocked out most of the sky. Contact, Elena called out. Setting down in 3, 2, 1, the ship touched ground with a shudder that ran through every deck. For a moment, the only sound was the settling of cooling metal and the gradual spin down of the atmospheric engines. Atmosphere check, Jessica ordered. Dr. Kim consulted her readings. Air is breathable, though oxygen content is slightly higher than Earth normal. Might make everyone feel a bit lightheaded at first. No detectable toxins or pathogens, but I'd recommend keeping respirators handy. Jessica stood and straightened her uniform, the dark blue fabric marked with the gold insignia of Earth Command's Deep Space Division. Landing party. Assemble in the airlock in 15 minutes. Full gear, but remember, we're diplomats first, explorers second. The landing party consisted of Jessica, Jake, Dr. Kim, Communications Specialist Lieutenant Maria Santos, Security Chief David Park, and Xenobiologist Dr. Alex Chun, no relation to the captain, despite the shared surname. They suited up in lightweight environmental gear, equipped with translation devices, medical kits, and sidearms that Jessica hoped they wouldn't need. Remember, Jessica addressed her team as they prepared to open the airlock. We're representatives of humanity. Whatever's out there, we approach with respect and caution. Our goal is to establish peaceful contact and negotiate for the resources we need to repair our ship. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss, and Jessica stepped onto an alien world for the first time in her career. The air smelled different. Cleaner somehow, with hints of something floral she couldn't identify. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's, making each step feel strangely bouncy. Spread out, but stay within sight of each other, she ordered. Alex, what do your scanners tell us about local wildlife? Dr. Chin consulted his handheld device. Lots of small life forms, probably analogous to insects and small mammals. Some larger signatures in the forest, but nothing immediately threatening. Wait. He frowned at his display. I'm getting some unusual readings about 500 meters to the north. Large life forms moving in formation. Define large, Jake said, his hand instinctively moving toward his weapon. Human-sized or bigger. Multiple individuals. Definitely intelligent based on their movement patterns. Lieutenant Santos activated her universal translator, a device that had successfully facilitated communication with dozens of alien species. If they have vocal communication, this should pick up their linguistic patterns pretty quickly. They moved through the emerald grass in a loose formation, weapons ready but not drawn. The alien sun felt warm on Jessica's face through her visor, and she found herself almost enjoying the experience despite their circumstances. It had been too long since she'd stood on solid ground under an open sky. The forest edge loomed before them, shadows dancing between massive tree trunks. Jessica was about to call for a more cautious approach when figures emerged from the tree line. Her first thought was that someone had played an elaborate prank. Creatures from ancient Earth mythology couldn't possibly exist on an alien world. But as the being stepped into full view, there was no denying what she was seeing. Orcs, or something so similar to the legendary creatures that the distinction seemed meaningless. They stood 8 feet tall on average, with muscular green-gray skin, prominent tusks protruding from their lower jaws, and intelligent amber eyes that regarded the humans with obvious curiosity rather than hostility. They wore clothing of leather and rough cloth, carried weapons of metal and wood, and moved with the coordinated precision of a military unit. Jesus Christ, David Park muttered, his hand frozen halfway to his sidearm. Easy, Jessica whispered. Nobody moves unless I give the order. The lead orc, distinguishable by more elaborate clothing and what appeared to be rank insignia carved into his leather armor, raised one massive hand in what was clearly a greeting gesture. When he spoke, his voice was deep and resonant, the words completely unfamiliar but somehow musical in their cadence. Lieutenant Santos' translator remained silent for several moments, then began to emit soft chimes as it processed the alien language. After what felt like an eternity, it spoke in mechanical approximation of the orc's deep voice. Greetings, sky people. We have watched your firebird descend from the star realm. Are you travelers or conquerors? Jessica stepped forward, grateful that the translation seemed to be working. We are travelers, she said clearly, hoping the device would convert her words accurately. Our ship is damaged. We seek only assistance and friendship. The orc leader tilted his massive head, and Jessica caught what might have been amusement in his amber eyes. When he responded, the translator converted his words. I am Kragith, war chief of the northern clans. Your metal bird carries the scent of distant stars. Follow, our elders would speak with the sky people. Jake leaned close to Jessica's ear. Could be a trap. Could be, she agreed. But what choice do we have? The Orc settlement was unlike anything in Jessica's experience. Built into a natural depression in the forest, it sprawled across several acres and housed what had to be thousands of inhabitants. The architecture was primitive by human standards, but displayed an impressive understanding of engineering and aesthetics. Wooden buildings rose in organic curves, their walls decorated with intricate carvings that seemed to tell stories in pictorial form. As the landing party followed Cragga through the settlement's main avenue, Orcs of all ages stopped their activities to stare at the strange visitors. Children, smaller versions of the adults but still as large as human teenagers, peered out from behind their parents with wide, curious eyes. Elderly Orcs leaned on walking sticks carved from the same redwood as the surrounding trees, their tusks yellow with age but their gazes sharp with intelligence. Remarkable, Dr. Chin whispered, his scientific mind clearly racing. Look at their social structure, family units, specialized crafters, organized defense. This isn't a primitive society at all. It's just differently organized than ours. Dr. Kim nodded in agreement. The metallurgy is more advanced than our initial scan suggested. Look at those weapons. That's quality steel, not primitive iron. Indeed, the guards who flanked their procession carried weapons that gleamed with the dull shine of well-forged metal. Swords, axes, and spears that showed evidence of sophisticated manufacturing techniques. More concerning from a tactical standpoint, Jessica noted crossbows with what appeared to be steel-tipped bolts. Cragga led them to a large circular building at the settlement center, its walls rising 30 feet into the air and topped with a conical roof. Guards stood at attention beside massive wooden doors carved with what Jessica was beginning to recognize as some form of writing system. The Elder Hall, Cragga announced as the doors swung open. Speak truthfully, Sky People. The elders can taste lies on the wind. The interior of the hall was lit by torches and oil lamps, casting dancing shadows on walls covered with more of the pictorial carvings. At the far end, 3 ancient orcs sat on carved wooden thrones, their appearances commanding respect despite their obvious age. The center figure, a female with intricate braids woven through gray hair, spoke in a voice that carried authority despite its frail timbre. The translator converted her words. I am Matriarch Vorthak, speaker for the northern clans. You claim to be travelers, but your metal bird speaks of great power. What do you truly seek in our lands? Jessica stepped forward, acutely aware that this moment could determine her crew's fate. Honored Matriarch, I am Captain Jessica Chin of the Earth vessel Meridian Explorer. We are explorers from a distant world, and our ship has suffered damage that strands us far from home. We seek materials and knowledge to repair our vessel, so we may return to our people. The 3 elders conversed among themselves in rapid, guttural tones that the translator couldn't keep up with. Finally, Vorthak spoke again. You speak of distant worlds as if they were neighboring valleys. Your people possess great magic to travel between the stars. Not magic, Dr. Kim interjected, then flushed as all eyes turned to her. I mean, honored elders, we use technology, tools, and knowledge to achieve what might seem like magic. The elder to Vorthak's left, a massive orc whose tusks were carved with intricate patterns, leaned forward. I am Elder Gromash, keeper of ancient lore. Our legends speak of sky people who came long ago, bearing gifts of knowledge, but they also brought war and sorrow. How do we know you are not the harbingers of doom our fathers warned us about? Jessica felt the weight of the moment. We come in peace, Elder Gromash. We seek only what we need to continue our journey. In return, we offer knowledge of our own, healing techniques, technologies that might benefit your people. Pretty words, the 3rd elder said, his voice carrying skepticism. I am Elder Thurrock, war leader of the Eastern clans. Words are wind, Sky People. Actions speak truth. Vorthak raised one aged hand, and the hall fell silent. The Sky People will be our guests while we deliberate their fate. Cragga, see that they are housed and fed. Set guards for their protection, and ours. As they were escorted from the Elder Hall, Jake moved close to Jessica. That didn't sound like a friendly invitation. No, she agreed grimly. I think we just became prisoners. The orc accommodations were more comfortable than Jessica had expected, though clearly designed for being significantly larger than humans. The building they were assigned was a 2-story structure with 4 rooms, each containing furniture carved from the ubiquitous redwood. The beds were massive. The chairs required climbing to use properly, and the ceiling was high enough that Jessica could have stood on Jake's shoulders without hitting her head. More concerning than the oversized furniture was the constant presence of orc guards. At least 6 armed warriors surrounded their building at all times, and while they weren't openly threatening, their message was clear. The humans were not free to leave. Captain, Lieutenant Santos reported after attempting to contact the ship, communications are being jammed. I can't reach the Meridian Explorer. Jammed. Dr. Kim looked up from her examination of one of the room's carved decorations. That would require a sophisticated understanding of electromagnetic principles. Maybe these orcs are more advanced than we thought, David Park suggested grimly. Dr. Chin shook his head. I don't think it's technological jamming. I'm detecting natural electromagnetic interference in the atmosphere, possibly from mineral deposits in the planet's crust. Our communications might be naturally blocked. Jessica moved to the room's single window, which looked out onto the settlement's main square. Below, orcs went about their daily activities with an organization that spoke of a complex society. She watched children receiving instruction in what appeared to be both academic and military subjects, craftsmen working metal and wood with impressive skill, and merchants trading goods from wagons that suggested extensive commerce networks. We need to learn more about these people, she said. Their culture, their technology level, their intentions toward us. Knowledge is our best weapon right now. Over the following days, the landing party settled into an uncomfortable routine. They were well-fed. The orcs proved to be excellent cooks, serving meat and vegetable dishes that were both nutritious and surprisingly flavorful. They were given books, though the pictorial writing system proved challenging to decipher. Most importantly, they were allowed to interact with their guards and other orcs, though always under supervision. Dr. Chin made the fastest progress in communication, his xenobiological training having included extensive linguistic study. By the 3rd day, he was carrying on halting conversations with their guards without relying entirely on the translator. Their society is fascinating, he reported to Jessica during one of their evening debriefings. They have a clan-based structure with both hereditary and meritocratic elements. War chiefs like Kragath earn their positions through combat and leadership, but the elders represent ancient bloodlines with spiritual authority. What about their technology? Jessica asked. It's a mixed bag. Their metallurgy is quite advanced. They've developed techniques for creating steel alloys that our ship's databases would classify as medieval-level technology. But they also have some understanding of advanced concepts. One of the guards mentioned star metal that falls from the sky, which sounds like meteoric iron with possible rare earth elements. Dr. Kim had been studying the architectural and artistic elements of the settlement. Captain, I think their technological development has been deliberately limited. Look at these carvings. They show scenes of great cities with what appear to be mechanical devices, vehicles, even flying machines. But none of that technology exists in their current society. You think they had it and lost it? Or chose to abandon it? Some of the pictorial stories seem to show disasters associated with advanced technology. Wars, plagues, environmental destruction. It's possible their ancestors deliberately reverted to a simple way of life. Lieutenant Santos had been working on expanding their linguistic database, and her translation device was becoming increasingly accurate. Captain, I've been listening to conversations around the settlement. There's a lot of debate about us among the population. Some see us as a fulfillment of ancient prophecies. They call us star-touched ones in their language. Others view us as harbingers of doom, just like Elder Gromash suggested. Any indication of what the elders plan to do with us? They're waiting for something, or someone. I keep hearing references to the Moontouch Council and the time of choosing. It sounds like they're convening some sort of larger governing body to decide our fate. On the 5th day of their captivity, Kragath arrived with an unexpected invitation. The elders would speak with your leader, he announced. Come, Captain Chief Jessica. Bring one companion. Jessica chose Jake, reasoning that his military experience might prove valuable. They were escorted back to the Elder Hall, where they found the three ancient orcs in deep discussion with several other figures Jessica hadn't seen before. "Ah, the Sky Captain returns," Vorthak said. "We have spoken with emissaries from the southern clans, the eastern tribes, and the western holds. All wish to know of the star travelers who have come to our world." Elder Gromash leaned forward. "Tell us, Sky Captain, of your vessel's capabilities. What weapons does it carry? How many warriors travel with you?" Jessica chose her words carefully. "Our ship is designed for exploration, not war. We carry defensive weapons only, and our crew numbers 12 scientists, engineers, and support personnel. Yet your metal bird crossed the star void," Elder Thurick observed. "Such power could bring great change to our world, willing or not." A new voice spoke in the shadows beside the elders' thrones. "Change is coming whether we will it or not." The speaker stepped into the light, an orc unlike any Jessica had seen. Where the others were massive and powerful, this one was lean and carried himself with an almost ethereal grace. His skin had a pale, almost translucent quality, and his eyes held flecks of silver that seemed to catch and reflect light in impossible ways. "I am Zephyr the Moon-Touched," he said, and Jessica noticed that his words didn't require translation. He was speaking accented but perfectly understandable English. "I am what your people might call a seer, a reader of the star patterns and the deep currents of fate." Jake's hand moved toward his sidearm before Jessica caught his wrist. "You speak our language." "I speak many languages, warrior chief, including the tongue of prophecy that tells of star travelers who will come in our time of greatest need." Zephyr's silver-flecked eyes fixed on Jessica. "The question is not whether you bring change. Change comes like the tide, inevitable and powerful. The question is whether that change will destroy us or redeem us." Vorthak spoke, and the translator converted her words. "The Moon-Touched has read the star signs since your arrival. He says the old prophecies speak of sky people who will either save our world from a great darkness or bring that darkness upon us." "What kind of darkness?" Jessica asked. Zephyr answered without waiting for translation. "Our world is dying, Star Captain. Not quickly, not obviously, but the deep magics that keep the balance are failing. Our harvest grows smaller each year. Our young are born weak and sickly. The very stones cry out in pain." "That sounds like environmental degradation." Jake said. "Pollution maybe, or resource depletion. Your companion thinks like a warrior." Zephyr observed with something that might have been amusement. "But this is not a battle that can be won with weapons. This is a wound in the world itself, a consequence of choices made long ago by those who came before." Elder Gromash's voice carried centuries of pain when the translator spoke his words. "Our ancestors possessed great power, machines that could move mountains, weapons that could split the very atoms of matter, vessels that travel between the stars as easily as a bird flies between trees. But with that power came hubris, and with hubris came catastrophe. The great dying," Vorthak added sadly. "Cities burned, the sky rained poison, and the very ground became cursed. Our people survived by abandoning the old ways, by returning to simpler paths. But the damage was done. Our world has been slowly dying ever since." Jessica felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. "You think our arrival is connected to this somehow?" "The prophecies speak of star-touched ones who will come bearing the seeds of either salvation or final destruction," Zephyr said. "You carry the same power that once nearly destroyed us. The question the elders must answer is whether you can be trusted to use that power wisely." Elder Thurick leaned forward, his scarred features grim. "Or whether you should be prevented from using it at all." The revelation that their host's world was dying cast their situation in an entirely new light. Jessica and Jake returned to their quarters to find the rest of the landing party gathered around Dr. Kim, who was examining readings from her portable scanner with obvious excitement. "Captain, you need to see this," Sarah said, looking up from her device. "While you were meeting with the elders, I've been taking atmospheric and soil samples through the window. The results are disturbing." She displayed a holographic projection of molecular structures that meant nothing to Jessica but clearly concerned her science officer. "The ecosystem here is suffering from massive contamination at the cellular level. Radioactive isotopes, toxic heavy metals, synthetic compounds that don't occur in nature. This planet was subjected to industrial pollution on an unimaginable scale." How long ago? Jessica asked. Based on the decay rates and distribution patterns, I'd estimate the initial contamination occurred between 3 and 5 centuries ago. But here's the really interesting part. There's evidence of ongoing remediation efforts. Remediation? Someone or something has been actively working to heal the damage, introducing beneficial microorganisms, neutralizing toxins, even manipulating genetic structures to help native species adapt. It's incredibly sophisticated work, more advanced than anything we could accomplish with current Earth technology. Dr. Chin looked up from his linguistic notes. That might explain something I learned from one of the guards. They speak of Earth singers, orcs who possess special abilities to commune with the land and promote healing. I thought it was primitive shamanism, but if they've developed biotechnological capabilities, they wouldn't be the first species to develop biointegration instead of mechanical technology. Dr. Kim agreed. If their ancestors caused this environmental disaster and then spent centuries developing organic solutions to fix it, they might have capabilities we can't even recognize. Lieutenant Santos finished scanning radio frequencies and shook her head. Still no contact with the ship, but I am picking up some unusual electromagnetic signatures from the settlement. Organized patterns that suggest technological activity, but not like anything in our databases. Biological technology, Jessica mused. That would explain how they're jamming our communications without any visible equipment, and why their architecture seems so organic. They might be growing their buildings rather than constructing them. David Park had been quietly studying the guards visible through their windows. Captain, I've been watching their patrol patterns. They're not just keeping us in, they're keeping others out. There's definitely tension in this settlement about our presence. Before Jessica could respond, Crag had appeared at their door with a larger escort than usual. The Elder summoned all the Sky People, he announced. The Council of Clans has reached a decision. The landing party was escorted back to the Elder Hall, where they found a much larger gathering than before. Representatives from multiple clans filled the circular chamber, their very clothing and weapons suggesting diverse cultures united under common leadership. The air hummed with tension and barely contained debate. Vordak stood as the humans entered, her aged voice carrying clearly through the hall. The translator converted her words. Sky People, the Council has deliberated. We find ourselves at crossroads of fate, where every path leads to either salvation or destruction. Zephyr the Moon Touch stepped forward, his silver-flecked eyes reflecting the torchlight. The prophecies speak of a test, a trial that will reveal the true nature of the star-touched ones. Only by passing this test can you prove worthy of our trust. What kind of test? Jessica asked, though she was beginning to suspect she wouldn't like the answer. Elder Gromass spoke, his words heavy with reluctance. You will journey to the heart of sorrow, the place where our world's wound is deepest. There, you will face the choice that defines all sentient beings, whether to heal or to harm, to create or to destroy. And if we refuse? Jake asked. Elder Thurik's response was blunt. Then you will remain our honored guests until the end of your natural lives. Your metal bird will be dismantled, and its secrets will remain forever buried. Jessica felt the trap closing around them. You're asking us to prove ourselves by venturing into what sounds like a highly dangerous area. The heart of sorrow lies 3 days' journey to the south, Zephyr explained. It is a place where the old madness still lingers, where the very fabric of reality bears scars from ancient folly. Your people's technology might be able to comprehend what ours cannot. If you can find a way to heal the wound, you will have proven that star knowledge can serve creation rather than destruction. Dr. Kim stepped forward. What exactly will we find there? Death, said Vordak simply. The ground burns with invisible fire. The air itself is poison. Plants grow twisted and wrong, if they grow at all. It is a wound that has festered for centuries, growing slowly larger, consuming more of our world with each passing year. Radiation, Dr. Kim whispered to Jessica. They're describing an area of intense radioactive contamination. Can your bioremediation technology not heal it? Jessica asked. Zephyr shook his head sadly. The Earth Singers die when they approach the heart. Their gift of healing becomes a curse in that place, turning their own life force against them. We have lost many brave souls attempting to heal that wound. So you want us to succeed where your people have failed. Jake said, or die trying. The choice is yours, Vortak replied. Attempt the trial and earn the right to repair your vessel and depart in peace, or remain here as our permanent guests. We will not force you to face the heart of sorrow. Jessica looked around at her team. Dr. Kim was clearly intrigued by the scientific challenge. Dr. Chen seemed fascinated by the cultural implications. Lieutenant Santos and David Park looked concerned but determined. Jake's expression was carefully neutral, waiting for her decision. If we attempt this trial, Jessica said, will our ship and crew be safe? They will be protected and cared for as if they were our own children, Vortak promised. And if we succeed in healing this wound, you'll provide the materials and assistance we need to repair our navigation systems? We will share whatever knowledge and resources we possess. Jessica took a deep breath. Command meant making impossible choices with inadequate information, but she'd learned to trust her instincts. And her instincts told her that these people, despite their intimidating appearance, were genuinely trying to do the right thing. We accept the trial, she announced. When do we leave? The expedition departed at dawn 3 days later, after intense preparation that revealed both the sophistication of Orc technology and the genuine danger of their destination. Jessica's team had been equipped with clothing woven from what appeared to be ordinary plant fibers, but proved remarkably resistant to both physical damage and environmental hazards. The thread comes from the ironbark vine, explained their guide, an Orc female named Seva, who seemed to be some combination of ranger, scout, and environmental specialist. The Earth Singers have shaped it over many generations to resist the poison touch of corrupted places. Their transportation was equally impressive. Creatures that resembled a cross between horses and large lizards, with thick scales that shifted color to match their surroundings. Shadow mounts, Seva called them, her English heavily accented but clear. They can smell dangerous air from great distance, warn of corrupted ground. The party consisted of the 6-person landing team plus 4 Orc escorts. Seva, 2 warriors named Brax and Thok, and another moon-touched individual called Whisper, who spoke little, but whose silver-flecked eyes seemed to see far more than they should. Cheerful group, Jake muttered as they rode south through increasingly sparse forest. Nothing says dangerous mission, like bringing a psychic and warriors to escort the scientists. Dr. Kim was too fascinated by the gradual environmental changes to worry about their companions. Look at the vegetation patterns, she said, gesturing to the trees around them. The further south we go, the more I'm seeing evidence of genetic modification. Those aren't natural leaf structures. Someone's been engineering these plants to process specific atmospheric contaminants. The Earth Singers work, Seva confirmed when Dr. Chen translated the observation. For many generations, they sing the plants to health, teach them to eat the poison from the air and soil. But their reach grows shorter each year as the heart spreads its sickness. By midday, the environmental degradation was obvious even to non-scientists. The trees were stunted, their leaves showing brown patches despite the season. Streams ran in unnatural colors, not the vibrant hues of mineral content, but the dull, oily shades of chemical contamination. Radiation levels are climbing, Dr. Kim reported, consulting her scanner. Still within safe limits, but definitely increasing as we head south. Lieutenant Santos frowned at her communication device. The electromagnetic interference is getting stronger too. Even if we could reach our ship, transmission would be nearly impossible from here. They made camp that evening in a clearing that Seva declared safe, though Jessica noticed the shadow mounts refused to graze on the local vegetation. The Orcs had brought feed for the creatures, another sign of how thoroughly they understood the dangers ahead. Tell me about the Heart of Sorrow, Jessica asked Seva as they shared a meal around a carefully contained fire. What exactly will we find there? Seva's expression grew troubled. Bad place. Very bad. The ground, how you say, glows with sick light. Plants grow wrong. Too many eyes, teeth where leaves should be. Air burns the lungs of those not protected. Mutagenic radiation, Dr. Kim said grimly. Severe enough to cause visible genetic damage in plant life. This is going to be worse than I thought. Whisper, the silent moon-touched, suddenly spoke. Like Zephyr, his English was perfect and unaccented. The heart remembers the old madness. When your people's ancestors played with forces beyond their understanding, they create a wound in reality itself. The radiation is only the symptom. The true damage goes much deeper. Our ancestors? Jessica asked. You mean humans were here before? Not humans as you are now, Whisper replied, his silver eyes reflecting the firelight. But star-touched beings much like you. They came with gifts and promises, bringing wonders beyond imagination. Our people welcomed them, learned from them, became dependent on their knowledge. What happened? Dr. Chen asked. Seva spoke a long passage in her native tongue, which Lieutenant Santos' translator converted. The Star People grew proud. They believed they could reshape our world to match their dreams. They built great machines, dug deep into the Earth's heart, called down fire from the sky itself. And when our ancestors asked them to stop, warned them of the Earthsinger's prophecies, they laughed. The war lasted 7 years, Whisper continued. Our people fought with nature itself as an ally, while the Star People wielded weapons of terrible power. In the end, the Star People destroyed themselves. Their greatest weapon turned against them by their own hubris. But the damage was done. The heart of sorrow marks the place where their final madness reached its peak. Jake leaned forward, his expression grim. And you think we might make the same mistakes? The prophecies speak of 2 paths, Whisper said. The star-touched ones will either heal the ancient wound or make it infinitely worse. There is no middle ground, no safe choice. That is why this trial is necessary. Dr. Kim studied her scanner readings. If we're dealing with the remnants of some kind of superweapon, our portable equipment might not be sufficient to make meaningful changes. The Earth Singers believe otherwise, Seva said. They say the Sky People carry the seeds of healing as well as destruction. The choice is which seeds will be allowed to grow. The second day's journey took them through increasingly desolate terrain. The forest gave way to scrubland, then to areas where only the most heavily modified plants could survive. The shadow mounts grew increasingly nervous, and Brax and Thok spent more time scanning the horizon for threats. What kind of threats? Jessica asked when she noticed their vigilance. Twisted ones, Brax replied to the translator. Beasts touched by the heart's poison. They no longer remember what they once were. They encountered the first of these creatures near midday, something that might once have been a deer, but now bore patches of crystalline growth and moved with an unnatural, jerky gait. It watched them from a distance, its multiple eyes reflecting light like broken mirrors, before disappearing into the sparse vegetation. Genetic modification gone wrong, Dr. Kim observed. The radiation is causing rapid evolutionary changes, but without any guiding intelligence to direct the process. The Earth Singers tried to guide it, Seva said sadly, but the madness is too strong here. Their gifts turn poisonous when they try to heal the deeply corrupted places. By the evening of the second day, they could see their destination on the horizon. The heart of sorrow appeared as a vast crater, perhaps 10 kilometers across, that glowed with a sickly phosphorescent light. Even at this distance, Jessica's skin prickled with an almost electrical sensation. We camp here, Seva announced. No closer at night. The darkness makes the corruption stronger. As they made their second camp, Whisper approached Jessica with a small cloth bundle. These are for tomorrow, he said, unwrapping what appeared to be amulets made from crystalline material. They will not stop the heart's poison, but they will slow its effects long enough for you to complete your work. You're not coming with us? The moon-touched cannot approach the heart directly. Our enhanced perception becomes a liability in that place. We see too much, feel too much. Seva and the warriors will escort you to the edge, but you must enter the crater alone. And do what exactly? Jake asked. Whisper's silver eyes met Jessica's. What your people do best, Star Captain. Choose between creation and destruction.